Hey there everybody, I'm Erin, a homeschooling mom of 4 young kids, all in elementary school. One of them is not even in school yet. My youngest is 3, my oldest is 9. And today I wanted to share with you what we are doing with the Good and the Beautiful's Language Arts Level 4. Level 4 comes with a little bit of a learning curve if you have been doing the language arts levels before that. And that's because it really starts to push your child to be a more independent learner. And I think that's a great thing. I think if you have been a parent for any amount of time, you'll realize that independence doesn't come naturally. It's something that we have to teach our children over time, over years and years. And as a teacher who taught in the online environment, that was something that many times I would see middle schoolers and even high schoolers who had no idea how to be independent learners at all yet. And so I think it's a great skill to start teaching at this age, because then by the time they are in middle school, they're able to write paragraphs by themselves without you sitting behind them every step of the way. They're able to maybe submit an assignment online if that's something they need to do by then. There's lots of ways that these small steps of independence will add up and create a well-balanced child and free up a little bit of your time as a homeschool mom, which is so needed, especially when you have many children that you're homeschooling. So without further ado, let me get into the changes between the 3rd and 4th grade curriculums and what we are doing in 4th grade to make this curriculum work really well for us. Okay, so the Good and the Beautiful 3rd grade curriculum comes with 3 separate components. The first is the student book. The second is the spelling booklet, which I think I threw away actually, so I don't have that. And then there are the student books, which they have 4 that they read throughout the year. They read about a chapter a day in conjunction with this book, and then the spelling component is done every other day. And then with the, let me start here with the student book. There's a section, this section of the lesson you read with your student, and then they do the rest on their own. And then in the student books, the parent reads a page and then they read a page. And towards the end, they're reading 2 pages and you're reading a page to kind of get them that little tiny step of independence towards the end of 3rd grade. Now with the 4th grade, there is the student book. There is the spelling and writing workshop book. There is the personal reader, which replaces the fiction books that you read with them. And there is the world biographies book. So the way that this curriculum works is, let's find a lesson. Okay, here is a good example of a lesson. So instead of like a half page of parent-teacher involvement, there's just this little section that shows you what to do with them, and then the rest is theirs. Sometimes there is, you're learning about an author, sometimes you're learning about a different place and doing some reading, and by you, I mean your child, and then it gets into their individual student work. And that's the end of that same lesson. So they have a full, my son had a full front and back page of work with nouns, punctuation, those sorts of things. and then he's supposed to read a chapter of his book and complete the writing workshop for that day. So he would complete that, and then he opens up this book. It also said for the parent to do the challenge climbing, sentence climbing, which is found in the back of this book. And so they work on reading these sentences that have some difficult language that tends to break regular reading rules, so that they just get used to seeing different words and how to pronounce them. As a teacher, somebody who used to teach, I think that this is a great way of exposing them to words that they wouldn't just maybe say in regular everyday language, or they might not read in a book that's at a 4th grade level. So it just kind of tiptoes them in to learning different vocabulary. And then that was lesson 11, so I'll open lesson 11 of this book. They learn a little lesson about, like right now he's working on redundancy in sentences a lot, so there's a little bit of practice to go with that. And then he was writing sentences there. Once in a while they have to write a full paragraph. And then on the opposite day, so they do a writing day, then a spelling day, then a writing day, then a spelling day. So then on the spelling day, they have their list of spelling words that you get out of the book, and they work on those spelling words. Then they read a book out of their personal reader. It tells them what to read. Right now he's reading out of this book. I imagine when he gets done reading the next story in here that he'll probably read a biography out of here. We haven't had a biography yet. So what we found when we first started using this curriculum is the jump from using this book every other day in 3rd grade to using a second book every day felt like a big learning curve. It felt like a big addition. But what's funny is last year the spelling book was used every other day, but that's because the writing was already incorporated every other day into the 3rd grade book. So they really were doing a lot of that work already. He just didn't realize it. So your child might be in that boat. But now we're using this book every day as well as the course book. Another thing that was more time consuming was the spelling. So in this book, it has you practice spelling every other day. And it'll do it in a very artsy way. So there's the picture, and he's supposed to write his spelling words on all these lines and just find different places to fit them to make it artistic. What we found is that took a very, very long time for my son. My son is very detail oriented, and he tends to be a bit of a perfectionist. So for him, he could spend a full hour just working on spelling and not even be done. And so that was a problem. We tried to do that for a while and it just wasn't working. So we started doing this instead. So we just divided a page into 12 sections, and he has to, because this is a focus in the book, is he has to alphabetize his spelling words, and that's all he has to do the first day of spelling, is make this and alphabetize the spelling words. Then the next time it has spelling, it's basically asking the child to write it a bunch of times in that chart. So instead, we just he has to practice writing it 3 times each. Then the next time, this time he just did it 3 times each day. But what we're going to start to do is also incorporating looking up the vocab words in the spelling words, I should say, in the dictionary, and finding them in the dictionary and writing down the definitions. Now, like I've said before, I don't know if I said it in this video, but my son is a little more advanced. That's something that I know he can do, and I wouldn't have him do all 12 spelling words in one day. As we work on learning to look up vocabulary words, we'll probably start with just 3 words a day that he's looking up, and then writing them 3 times each. And that's how we're building in vocabulary and spelling in a way that's different than what The Good and the Beautiful has it, because I love the way The Good and Beautiful does it. I think it will work really well for my daughter, who is in 2nd grade right now. But for my son, who's so detail oriented and wants everything to be perfect, it was just taking way too long. So we're trying out this way, and it's working much, much better. Now we are able to, I should say, when we started the school year, I was needing to sit with him through a whole lesson and help him with each part as he learned how this system works. It wasn't that different of a system from the previous school year, but for a child, it felt like a big change. So I needed to be there to assist him through that. He gained his confidence in it, and now he just opens the book and starts going. And then as I finish up with one child, I go and do the parent section with him, and he's finishing his lessons usually in about 30 minutes plus the reading. Another thing I wanted to share is how I would suggest doing the writing portion. Children are going to be at all sorts of different levels at this age with their writing skills, and that's fine. Students are going to be at completely different ranges when it comes to their independence in writing, and that's also fine. So I am able, with some things that are just straightforward, answer the question in a full sentence, my son's able to do that completely on his own. If there's a more creative element to it, the detail-oriented side of my son comes out, and he wants to find the exact right words to use to describe what it's asking him to write about. And so with that, I usually am sitting with him more, helping him choose his words to write and encouraging him to write complete sentences and multiple sentences on a topic. I know some parents that use the same curriculum and they have their child say it to them and they write it down. That's perfectly fine for 4th grade. I promise you. I taught middle school language arts for several years, and so that level for 4th grade does translate well to where they should be at a 6th, 7th, 8th grade level. By 6th, 7th grade, they should be able to write 3 to 4 paragraphs on their own without much assistance. So right now, if they're writing 1 to 2 paragraphs and you're writing it down for them to start the year off, that is totally fine. But we do want to see those shorter form answers of 1 to 2 sentences, them being able to write themselves. The longer form of 1 to 2 paragraphs help them as much as they need. So I just wanted to put that little professional tidbit in there at the end from an English teacher's perspective, to see how you can differentiate that for your child. Other than that, the curriculum really, really is working well for us. So I just wanted to encourage you, if you looked at this curriculum or your child looked at this curriculum and it seemed overwhelming, just give it a couple of weeks. Sit there with your child, help them get used to it. You need to get used to it, and I think it will be a great addition to your homeschooling routine. If you have any questions about the curriculum below, or any language arts related questions, how to teach different things, that is my cup of tea. That's my expertise outside of just homeschooling in general. So feel free to ask below if you need help in that area. I'm happy to help. And other than that, I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't, and we'll see you next time. Bye.